came in discuss the metalworking process. So the metalworking process is a primary manufacturing process. So no, not at all. The metalworking process is not a primary manufacturing process. It is also the secondary manufacturing process. All right. So why we perform the metalworking? So the main why we perform the metalworking process? So main our intention is that we have to change the cross-sectional area. So this is one. We have to change the cross-sectional area, or we can say we have to increase the length. So we have to increasing the length. One, the changing the cross-sectional area, and we have to changing the length. These are our two intention. So for that particular reason we perform the metalworking process. So the metalworking process are there have a few processes. Like first one is that, so the classification of the metalworking process. So rolling process, forging process, extrusion process, and the drawing process or wide drawing process. And the metal working process are actually performed in a two way. One is basically the hot metal working process. We can say the hot metal working process, and another one is that cold metal working process. So there is a two process. One is a hot metal working process and a cold metal working process. Simultaneously, in between the hot and cold, we also perform another metal working process that is known as a warm metal working process. The warm metal working process. Now we have to talk what is the hot metal working process. Then the cold metal working process. Another thing is the warm metal working process. All right. So hot metal working process. What is the hot metal working process? In a hot metal working process, we basically have a metal, and that metal is in a temperature of like the recrystallization temperature. More than the recrystallization means we have a metal stock, and we provide the heat on that particular metal stock above the recrystallization temperature. Above the recrystallization temperature. All right. So this is basically known as a hot metal working process. So we basically heat the metal stock above the recrystallization temperature of the metal. So now what is the recrystallization temperature? So the recrystallization temperature, if I talk about definition, then it is basically the half of the melting point of that particular metal. For example, if we use the iron, then iron will liquefied in a 1500 degrees centigrade. So the half temperature of the 1500, so it is like 700 to 850 degrees centigrade. So this is basically the recrystallization temperature of the iron. All right. So this is basically known as a recrystallization temperature. And if I talk about the warm metal working process, then we basically let's talk about the cold metal. So cold metal working, here we basically we heat the metal stock above the recrystallization temperature. The cold metal working process, we heat the metal working heat the metal stock the below the cold working, that means the below to the recrystallization temperature of the metal, below recrystallization temperature. But in a warm metal working process, what actually happen? We heat the metal in between the recrystallization temperature of that particular metal. So in a particular warm working, we heat that particular metal which is equal to the recrystallization temperature of the metal. All right. And now how we heat that particular metal, these above recrystallization, below recrystallization, and equal recrystallization, how we heat that particular metal? So for that particular aspect, we have a different phenomena, like we have annealing, normalizing, hardening, tempering, mar tempering. So this is all about. So we discuss all of that later. So now if I talk about the metal working process, the metal working process are actually they have a rolling process, forging process, extrusion process, wide drawing process, or the drawing process. The rolling process also have a like hot metal working, the hot rolling, the cold rolling, or the warm rolling. We basically normally talk the hot rolling and the cold rolling. Forging, hot forging process, cold forging process, extrusion, hot extrusion, cold extrusion, drawing, hot drawing, the cold drawing. All right. So this is the metal working process. Now we discuss about the rolling, forging, extrusion in next video. Thank you.